Where are we, dude?
It appears we have found ourselves in Area 62.
Area 62? What's that?
Mostly a state of mind and being emanating from somewhere within the Mojave Desert, but also a podcast sharing the culture of the high desert, beaming from Copper Mountain College in Joshua Tree. My protocols require me to state that the views you find expressed inside of Area 62 are the personal views of those participating in the podcast, not the official policies or positions of Copper Mountain College or the Copper Mountain Community College District.
Right about now, you're in tune to the Yoties, all the way from Flagstaff, Arizona, Northern AZs, take the Southwest, coming at you live and direct right here from Frogville Studio, Santa Fe, New Mexico. Right about now, you're gonna listen to some crucial music, crucial tunes for you live and direct. Wicked wily, rubbing up styly. Chicka bow, wow, wow.
Slang tang rhythm in a Yotie style. It's a slang tang rhythm in a Yotie style. Wicked wily, check it out, we get irie. Ow, ow, ow. Shy-dee-dee-dee, like a river we go. Shy-dee-dee-dee, like a river we go. Shy-dee-dee-dee, like a river we go. Rhythm, rhythm. Tha Yoties are howling on the street when the dog catch a pillock come in a kid. But when the lock was sprung, he come a singing a song. Then come another coyote, come a tap a rhythm. Two little Yoties are howling on a hill at a 420 camp up when the moon stood still. But when they hit the ground, making a reggae sound, they come another coyote with a big boom bass sound. Tha Yoties on a mesa top, they like a flash flood flowing, they ain't never gonna stop. And when they climb up a mountain to take time to pray, they come another coyote who feel the same way. Four little Yoties are rumbling on a mountain, they be Arizona reggae rock and ska sounding. Howling for the people and the lands of their home, indigenous nations of a Colorado plateau. Chai-dee-dee-dee, like a river we go. From the thawing of a mountain snow, from the monsoon raindrop to the mesa top, we like a flash flood flowing, we ain't ever gonna stop. Shy-dee-dee-dee, like a river we go. Shy-dee-dee-dee, like a river we go. Shy-dee-dee-dee, like a river we go. Yeah, like a river we go. Yeah, like a river we go.
You've been listening to the crucial sounds of the Yoties. Yes, indeed. Hope you're feeling irate. Coming at you live and direct once again from the Frogville. Big up to the engineer, Mr. Bill Palmer. Remember, never give up the fight. Stay positive, stand firm, seek the light.
Slang tang rhythm in a Yotie style. It's a slang tang rhythm in a Yotie style. It's a wicked wily. Check it out, we get irie. Ow, ow, ow.
Your business or organization can become a sponsor of Area 62, and you can support the Mojave's Cultural Podcast for as little as $3 per month at patreon.com/Area 62. Area 62, beaming to you from Joshua Tree in the Mojave Desert.
Slang tang rhythm in a Yotie style. Rhythm, rhythm. One little Yotie a howling on the street when the dog catch a pillock come in a case. But when the lock was sprung, he come a singing a song. Then come another coyote, come and tap a rhythm. Two little Yoties are howling on a hill at a 420 camp up when the moon stood still. But when they hit the ground, making a reggae sound, they come another coyote with a big boom bass sound. Three little Yoties on a mesa top, they like a flash flood flowing, they ain't never gonna stop. And when they climb up a mountain to take time to pray, they meet another coyote who feel the same way. Four little Yoties are rumbling on a mountain, they be Arizona reggae rock and sounding. Howling for people in the land of their home, indigenous nations of the Colorado plateau. Shy-dee-dee-dee, like a river we go. From the thawing of a mountain snow, shy-dee-dee-dee, like a river we go. Yeah, like a river we go. Yeah, like a river we go. It's a sling tang rhythm in a Yotie style. It's a sling tang rhythm
Hey, it's your boy JRod. I'm here with Ed Kabotie, and you're listening to Area 62. So, Ed, tell us about yourself. Say hi.
Whoa. Hey, everybody. How's it going, man? O huaping ango mu. Kwari arik e ato a kapo o winge ari komope o winge o ho songe iwiri. Yeah, my name is Ed Kabotie, and I'm from the Hopi Reservation and also the Tewa village of Kapo Owinge out in northern New Mexico. Of course, Hopi is out in northern Arizona. So it's a blessing to be here hanging out with you guys.
All right, tell us a little bit about your background.
I shared just now, a little bit about where I grew up. I grew up in northern Arizona, northern New Mexico. Tewa Reservation, Santa Clara Pueblo is where I went to elementary school before I transferred over to Santa Fe Indian School, boarding school in Santa Fe. Kind of throughout my life, I've gone back and forth between my mother's people, the reservation there, and my father's people out in Hopi. So that's kind of a wrap-up of my younger life. Over the last 14 years, I've mostly lived in Arizona. I moved to Arizona on the recommendation of the Coconino County Sheriff's Department. I was living in New Mexico and just, life happens sometimes. And I was going through kind of a tricky time, maybe about 15 years ago plus, and it kind of culminated in some legal problems for myself out in Arizona. And so I was restricted for like 2 years to a 20-mile radius around the city of Flagstaff because of what I was going through. And it's during that time that my band, Tha Yoties, got started. I was actually a street musician and the only licensed street musician for like 3 years in the city of Flagstaff. And that's kind of the way my band got started. I play multiple instruments, and I was asked to join a band called Summit Dub Squad. And during that time, 2 of the other members of the band and I created the band Tha Yoties. And Tha Yoties is my first band where I'm off the drum kit and playing guitar and singing and doing the songwriting. And at that time in my life, I really had a lot to talk about.
So how did it shape you as an artist?
That's exactly a perfect question, perfect lead-in question, because, it was those experiences that really I was writing about, When you're sitting in 4 walls, staring at 4 walls, you have a lot of time to think, And for me, it was kind of a big revelation to me in Flagstaff because Flagstaff is a town that's 8% Native American, but consistently over the last decade, 50% of the arrests made by the Flagstaff Police Department are of Native American people. And that situation, along with environmental issues of neighboring tribes, that's really kind of what became the impetus for my band, Tha Yoties. We call ourselves Tha Yoties, that's short for coyotes, because we're howling for the people and lands of the Colorado Plateau, Four Corners area, Grand Canyon region.
So are any of the Yoties, besides you, Native American?
Yeah. So when we started, 2 of the guys in the band were from Flagstaff and grew up there. 2 of us are Native American. Our bass player at the time is Dakota Sioux and also Navajo or Dene. And so we had represented Dakota, Dene, Tewa, and Hopi in the band. Right now, it's a 6-man lineup. One of our guys is Mexica, meaning he's,
Indian from Native America.
Well,
from Mexico.
Correct, yes. And then we also have our current bass player who's my best friend actually from Santa Fe Indian School, and he's Choctaw and Jemez Pueblo.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us, what's influenced you as a musician?
Oh, man.
What artists?
Great question. So there's the experiences that I'm talking about that shaped my music a lot. But I love talking about, the artists that shaped me. Really, when I was young, the most influential music was cultural music. It was the music that I grew up with, hearing songs from my grandfather, my father, and just the community, ceremonial things. And then my dad is a visual artist, and he did an album cover for a band called Exit, X-I-T, who's a Native American band. And their music is really awesome. That was like the first rock music that I was exposed to. They're contemporary with Redbone. A lot of people know Redbone, but very few people know Exit. Redbone was not on Motown Records, although they get accused of being a lot of times. But Exit was actually on Motown, and they put out 2 albums early on that really had a big impact on me. Going through high school, I like to think of what had shaped me and my peers. We were very angry. We're all like, at that time, we were like 3rd generation boarding school. The kids that were going to boarding school at that time, we had a lot of anger. So really the music that made the most sense to us was metal, kind of on the hard, edgier side. I was also exposed by my Hickory Apache girlfriend, who I later married. And, that's...
Still together?
No. And that's part of what happened, kind of the tough time that I went through 15 years ago, right? But her tribe was really into reggae music. And on my Hopi side, the people there at the same time were also being exposed to reggae quite a bit. And I realized that reggae music, and when I say reggae, I'm not really talking about American reggae. I'm talking about like Jamaican reggae. The music of Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Bunny Wailer, Burning Spear. It's really angry music, and I related to it with that, but also what's unique about reggae music is it's undeniably spiritual, uncompromisingly spiritual, unapologetically spiritual, and that really made sense to me also. I mean, I come from a very spiritual culture, and reggae music was kind of a natural influence to me.
Could you talk more about your spiritual connection in music? Like, are you religious? Tell us more about your beliefs.
That's a tricky question, but it's a great question because I feel like it is very important to the music of the Yoties. I'm not really used to like articulating it, but since you ask. So I grew up with my father's influence on my Hopi side, very rich culture, very keen on recognizing the cycles of the sun, the moon, the cycles of the rain, the cycles of the natural order around us. And that really had a big impact on me. Of course, growing up in New Mexico, there was also a lot of Catholicism, Christian type of influence. And a lot of people don't recognize that on reservations around the turn of the century, we were required to have Christian presence on our reservation. So I like to tell people, we probably know a lot more about the Bible than people outside the reservation as a result. So there's a lot of things that influence me, and I feel like all of those kind of combine and mesh into the way I see the world and my personal worldview. I think I have a great respect for nature. I have a great respect for the creation of the Great Spirit. And I also have a great respect for many of the religions that have been around me. A lot of people have had bad experiences, unfortunately, with religion. And I feel like for myself, I'm grateful that I was always, I feel like, able to take the positive things that were about what I was exposed to and integrate it and kind of leave the stuff that was little unsavory. Yeah, leave that behind.
Was your boarding school religious? Like, did it shape anything? I know you said that you put that piece behind you, but is there anything that still remains, especially influence into your songs?
I went to boarding school beginning in 7th grade and 7th through 12th grade. The first boarding school that I went to, and I only spent 1 year there, and that was St. Catherine's Indian School. Unfortunately, this is one of the horror stories that you hear about because the school, after I left, fell into scandal because of sexual abuse that was happening there. Again, I was fortunate to not be exposed to any of it. I did not feel comfortable there, so I transferred over to the Santa Fe Indian School. Santa Fe Indian School had just been taken over by the All-Indian Pueblo Council of New Mexico, so it had been previously a BIA-run school, but the tribes took it over. So the school had a much different focus. So it encouraged our traditional cultures. And so I would have to say yes to your question. Were they religious? Yes. Did they have a big influence on me? Yes. Does it bleed into my music? Probably also a big yes, you know.
Okay. So, in The Shining One, who are you singing to?
Oh, man, you had to ask that one. The song Shining One opens with the line, "You have always been a shining star. In a crowd of 1,000, I can still see who you are." That particular line was actually spoken to me personally by a staff person at Santa Fe Indian School when we performed in our Actors Studio group a play called Black Elk Speaks. In that play, I portrayed the character Crazy Horse, who has always been a big personal hero of mine, Lakota warrior who was very selfless and fought for his people, fought for freedom. His influence is big in my life. At the conclusion of the play, a staff person came up to me and said, "Hey, you know, if you were in a crowd of 1,000 people, you would still be able to see you." So that's the way the song starts. That's not what the song is about. The song is about a beautiful lady that I knew at one time. Yeah, and I guess I still know her, but Dene, Navajo lady that I dated for a little while. And I felt like she was a shining star. You know what I mean? She shined a lot of goodness and virtue to the world. And so that's was the inspiration of the song.
Shining star in a crowd of 1,000, I can still see who you are. You have always been a shining one, brightening the night as the moon reflects the sun. And every day that I pray, I raise your name in a sacred way. And I cry out to lead you, cry out to be true. To myself and to you I sing, you have always been a shining star. You have always been a shining one, yeah, yeah. A shining one under the sun, guiding me through to the path where I belong. A shining star, you know who you are. And now you're my sunflower girl. And every day that I pray, I raise your name in a sacred way. And I cry out to lead you, cry out to be true. To myself and to you I say, I pray, I raise your name in a sacred way. And I cry out to lead you, cry out to be true. To myself and to you I say, you have always been a shining star. You have always been a shining one, yeah, yeah. A shining star, you know who you are. A shining one under the sun.
So how did you and the Yoties get together?
I was playing the street one day, and one of the members of a band called Summit Dub Squad approached me on the street, and he said, "Hey, man, we're playing a Bob Marley birthday show at the Orpheum Theater, and they said, we need a drummer. Can you play with us? And I said, sure. So I played with them that show, and I continued to play drums for that band for a few years. And then two of the members and myself had a little bit too much time on our hands, and we started another band, which was the Yoties, you know. And the Yoties were actually the first band that I got off the drum kit and got in front of the microphone and grabbed the guitar and started running the band. And so the Yoties kind of became, I don't know, it kind of like...
brothers?
Very much brothers, very much a family. I mean, we hit it hard. You know, we hit the rail really hard, and we worked really hard, and we played everywhere that we could. But yeah, the Yoties are a family for sure, you know. And I call the band the Yoties kind of because we're howling for our people, but also, you know, we're kind of scraggly ragamuffin. There you go. Okay. Great description.
So how long you been playing guitar, and is that your favorite instrument?
Oh, man. I don't think I have a favorite instrument. You know, I had a music teacher one time that said the only instrument that he didn't play was the one that he didn't own. But it is a very practical instrument because it's portable. You can take it anywhere. You can play it on the street and make a couple dollars, you know what I mean? And that's what I was doing back at the beginning of the Yoties. So maybe that's a little bit of a favorite, but I mean, I love drums. I learned guitar because I wanted to play drums at the Indian school. I mean, I didn't want to join band, but I wanted to get to the drum kit, and the drum kit was in the band room, and the only way to get into the band room was to take a music class. Like I said, I didn't want to take band, so I took a guitar class, and that was in my 9th grade year at the Indian school, and that's when I was exposed to guitar.
So in the song By and By, who are you referring to?
Oh, wow. That's a deep dig. Good for you. The song In a By and By, let me change gears for just a second in my mind and in my heart, because that song is about a person who's very dear to me. The Yoties were a 3-piece band. We used to call him the 4th Yotie. When we were a 4-piece band, we'd call him the 5th Yotie. And this is probably the most inspiring natural artist that I've ever met. A young man by the name of Bahi Whitethorn Jr. His father's an artist and is contemporary with my dad. And Bahi and I were, you know, of similar age, Bahi Jr. He would do live art at our shows. And I mean, he was my best friend in Flagstaff. And he passed away. I got some terrible news one morning that he had passed away, and it really shook my world, honestly. And that was the focus of the song In a By and By, was just thinking about him, meditating on him, and just remembering all of the goodness that he brought to the world.
Rest in peace.
Rest in power.
Rest in power. Amen to that.
Yes.
So did he inspire you into painting? Did he teach you how to paint, or do you paint now?
I do. Because I'm on the road a lot, I probably do a lot more drawing. You know, it's just easier. If I have time, watercolors or something that's also pretty convenient. Bahi definitely inspired me. He also intimidated me. He was like the most natural artist I had ever met. When I met him, I was totally blown away, and, you know, I was immediately like, whoa, you know, and this guy's in another league, and I was intimidated. What was so cool about Bahi was he was so humble. He had no ego, you know, and I just fell in love with him as a person, you know what I mean? Like, he's my brother, you know.
Have you ever used him as a muse?
Well, In a By and By, you know, that was...
Painting-wise.
Not painting-wise, although he created an album cover for us. I had a birthday show and he was doing live art, and he did the album cover along with another artist. They collaborated doing live art during this show, and that became the cover for our 4th album, maybe. It's an album called Midnight Patrol.
Okay, and what influenced you in Midnight Patrol?
Oh, wow. Midnight Patrol. I'm trying to think back to the time. I I was listening to a particular artist by the name of Modest Yahoo at the time, and so I had a friend who once told me, yeah, those are kind of, you can tell the influence, that you were hearing. Also, it's called Midnight Patrol because as a band of coyotes, right? I mean, it felt like that's kind of what we were doing. A coyote, he sits outside everything else. There was a coyote just at the studio today. That was really awesome to see him. But, the coyote, I feel like he's
a spirit.
Well, yes, but he's also like, he kind of lives in two worlds, right? I mean, he's got his spiritual side, but he's also got his Walmart parking lot side. He's a city dog, but he's also a wild animal, and I feel like that's kind of the way we are as human beings today. And I feel like Coyote kind of has a message for us in a way, like he's showing us that even though he lives in two worlds, he's always going to be wild. And the way I see it, we're living in two worlds today with our modern gizmos and cell phones and, iPads. But we need to be careful that we don't lose sight of the things that are eternal. The rising and the setting of the sun, the cycles of the stars, the moon, we are spiritual people. We're part of the natural order, and we're part of the natural order of the universe, and we're all creations of the Great Spirit. So going back to your question about Midnight Patrol, that was kind of our vibe, then is we wrote a song on there called Cop Go A Fishing, and that was about a girl that had been shot down by a police officer in a neighboring town in Winslow. She was 27 years old, a girl named L'Oreal. And so, those type of situations were what we were writing about. There's a song called Downpresser Man in that album. There's a song called You Wanna Bet, which is about actually Indian gaming, which in my background, I feel that it's detrimental, to our people. So again, those kind of coyote vibes.
When a cop go a fishing, gonna hang his hook in the water. When the wolf come a sniffing, he be looking in the bushes for you. When a cop go a fishing, gonna hang his hook in the water. When the wolf come a sniffing, he be looking in the bushes for you. And I can't believe what I hear. A city cop gunned down a young girl. Hypocritical beast, they be a gnash in the teeth. When the hammer come down at the judgment seat. When a cop go a fishing, gonna hang his hook in the water. When the wolf come a slipping, he be looking in the bushes for you.
Okay. So what other issues concern you? Do nature, do any other sorts of issues that you've been going through? But your experience is really wonderful, and it sounds like you've been going through it a lot.
Yeah, I think, sometimes when you go through it, it opens your eyes, right? And you all of a sudden see things in a different way. I would say that, like for me, and even going back to my hero of Crazy Horse, right? I mean, I've always had one eye on
nature,
and one eye on
spirit.
Well, maybe two eyes. Yeah, one eye on nature, one eye on spirit, but also on human condition, human injustice. So like the Yoties, we sing a lot about not only environmental injustice, but also about social injustice. Back in the day when I was in elementary school, there was a reading program, national reading program called Reading is Fundamental. And they would come into minority schools and give free books to kids. Of course, Native American population is pretty low population compared to the big picture in the United States. So a lot of the books that were put on the table for us were books of African American heroes, And I remember reading books about George Washington Carver, a book about Frederick Douglass, and I don't know why this is choking me up just to think about a particular book called Frederick Douglass Fights for Freedom. I was maybe 8 years old when I read that book, and it just really kind of rocked my world, realizing that there is so much injustice in our own history, and as human beings, sometimes, we become oppressive to one another when we seek comfort, when we seek our own comfort above other people's inconvenience.
So could you tell us about your connections with reggae that inspire you to write more about the injustice?
Well, like I said, I grew up kind of a metalhead in high school, and I was introduced to reggae music from the Hickory Apache people. I was a drummer right back then. I mean, I was like focused on metal, like double bass, and I moved out to Santa Monica right after high school and auditioned for a band called Cryptic Slaughter. You know what I mean? Like thrash punk band, and that was kind of what we were into. Yeah, it was great.
Did you have a mullet?
No, I never had one of those. But great question. But no, like what happened with reggae is, like I said, my girlfriend at the time was listening to a lot of reggae, and I would listen to the beat and it sounded so simple to me, right? And I would try to play it and I couldn't do it, and it was driving me nuts. So I would go into I'd go into the woodshed, so to speak, and I'd put on the headphones, I'd get into the zone, and I start like trying to mimic this guy's beats. And this is Bob Marley's music. So this is Carlton Barrett is the drummer. And, to me, he's still the greatest drummer that's ever lived as far as reggae music.
Facts.
Yeah, he wrote the book, bro. And just listening to Bob Marley's music, meditating on the beat, the words of Bob Marley also sunk into my head and then into my heart. And the message of reggae music, recognizing that it's not Bob Marley and the Wailers, it's Bob Marley and the Wailing Wailers, because they're crying. They're crying for their people, just like kind of we are for ours. And that became really the big inspiration, recognizing that reggae music was a way that we could communicate our struggles to the world. So out in Hopi, the first reggae artist to come to Hopi that I remember is Burning Spear. And this was a connection with people that were listening to reggae in Hopi and a radio station down in Phoenix. And Burning Spear was coming through and he did a concert in Phoenix. And Hopi invited him up to do the show there. And something magic happened there. Once he played there, then it just created this really wonderful relationship between Hopi and the island of Jamaica,
Is that where you started emulating?
No, it wasn't. I mean, I was still a metalhead at that time,
Okay.
But again, the music kind of just continued to grow on me, just like everybody else, Hickory Apache were listening to reggae, Hopi was listening to reggae, and as I left high school, it just continued to grow, and it seems like now it's like all over Native America, I mean, it has like for decades, it's really saturated. There's so many really good Native American reggae bands like Interstate and Native Roots and Tha Yoties. Hey,
Facts on that.
Yeah, right.
Yoties.
Ow!
So what are your future plans?
Well, I think one day at a time, I mean, my future plan is just try to discern the wisdom and the guidance of the Great Spirit and just move forward one step at a time.
Okay. Talk a little about your Native American history, your alter Native history.
Okay. So, I mean, something that happened with my experience, in Flagstaff when I did move to Arizona on the recommendation of the county sheriff's department, when all that happened, it really helped me to recognize a lot of the social justice issues that were going on with my people. I've always been fascinated by Native American history. Like I mentioned Crazy Horse, right? I mean, he's always been a gigantic hero, and hearing of his stories and hearing of the wars of the Plains Wars, in the latter part of the 1800s. In Hopi, my great-grandfather, Lolo Matyama, he was arrested in 1906 and sent to prison for refusing to send my grandfather to boarding school in Pennsylvania. My grandfather was like 6 years old at the time. And when I was 10 years old, our people celebrated the 300-year anniversary, the tricentennial of the Pueblo Revolt of 1680. And this is when our people rose up against a very imperial regime of Castilian Spain. And
Does this have to do with Geronimo?
No, it's much earlier than Geronimo. Geronimo will come like 200 years later. So it's very early history, right? And our people at that time became, through that war, and I like to call it the first war for religious freedom, the first documented war for religious freedom in what we today call the United States. And it's a very unique history because this was the only group of Native American people in written history to actually oust and establish European colony from their homelands. So these combined influences have led me to give talks about Native history, and I like to call these histories alternative history because they're histories that a lot of people have never heard. You know, a lot of people have never heard of the Pueblo Revolt of 1680.
It's his story, history. You know, the winners write the facts, or not the facts, but they write what they want you to know. I have a question. So what's the origins of your people? Do they have an origin story of how they're created?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not sure how much of that is appropriate for me to talk about, honestly. Maybe I can just kind of say that we have a paradigm about the world just like the scientist does. Like if you ask the scientists, you know, when did human life begin on the earth? You know, I think these days we're pointing to the continent of Africa, right? If you ask somebody from a Judeo-Christian background, you know, when did human life on earth begin? Then we're going to point to, you know, the Fertile Crescent, Mesopotamia, the Garden of Eden. If you ask, like, our people, we also have a concept of how the human life began on this earth. And our concept, I guess, is that we're all immigrants to this planet. Like, we're kind of, we came here upon the invitation of the Great Spirit, and we all came together as like every race emerged together. And we were given responsibilities and charges to seek wisdom. And that's kind of a foundational concept in our beliefs.
Yeah, because in my culture, they start the Maya as in making people out of white and yellow corn.
Okay.
Yeah, they start with first making people out of mud, but they had no soul. They had no praise, so they flooded them. Just like the Great Flood in the Bible, which correlates with it. And then they made people out of bark, which they didn't know how to praise the gods or how to talk. So they destroyed them. And what remained of them, they believed to be the monkeys now. And then when they got it right, was they made out of corn. And from there, they stopped trying.
Interesting that you do mention, you know, the Mayan people, because in our culture, Hopi is like a conglomeration of many different peoples, and some of our clans come from the south. My father's clanship in particular is born from the Corn Clan. He's Snow Clan, but they were originally Corn Clan, and they came from the south. And there's quite a lot of similarities, you know, that we recognize with Mayan belief systems and other tribes of Central America. You know, we never observed the border, you know what I mean? There was never a border. There was never a line between Mexico and the Southwest. And if you look at the cultures in Central America and in the Four Corners region, there's actually a lot of similarities, you know, that you can recognize.
Yeah, also the Iroquois speak a language that is also recorded down in Mexico. So the Iroquois speak the language that is similar to in Mexico.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not real familiar with
I
with
did
Iroquois.
that report. Do you want to further on tell us more about your future plans?
Well, I mean,
or you can tell us a bit about your recording session at Gato's Trail
there you
Studio.
Go. Well, we're in the studio a lot, the Yoties are. I mean, we've got so many recording projects going on right now, it's kind of silly. We're recording an album in Colorado, and we're calling this album, Feels Like Home. We just recorded 10 songs in Santa Fe at Frogville Studios, and we're calling that project Band of Yoties. And now we're over here at Gatos Trail and recording some more music. And the work that we're doing at Gatos Trail right now is we're working on a lot of our old favorites. And now that we're a 6-piece band, we've got trombone player Mike T-Bone Davis and Romeo Alonzo, who plays saxophone and keyboards for us. But we're trying to incorporate horns into a lot of our older music, so it's kind of a new start, a new twist on some of our favorites.
Some of your early beginnings with the wind instruments.
Yeah, I mean, I love the horns, you know. It just becomes a totally different vibe.
Okay, so when you name your album Feels Like Home, why is that? What inspired you to say that? Is it the music, or is it like certain songs that you put in there that remind you of the past?
The concept of Feels Like Home, that actually came from our drummer. And this was quite a while back. We were playing a lot of shows in, all over the place, you know. I mean, when I say all over the place, I mean like Arizona and Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, you know. And we would rock out for different crowds, and inevitably it felt like they would adopt us in a way, you know what I mean? Like we developed good relationships wherever we'd go. People were friendly to us, and they would, you know, they'd listen to us for a while, and pretty soon, you know, everybody rocking out, everybody be jamming, and everybody be dancing, and good vibes. And we were on our way home from some of those shows, and our drummer was like, bro, it just feels like home, you know what I mean? Like, and we were just commenting about a particular show, but you know, that was kind of something that was repeated in our experience. And he came up with this little chorus. He was just saying, it already feels like home. It already feels like home. And I just remembered his little melody. And so I added verses and wrote a song about it. And so I've always wanted to come back to it and explore that concept of feels like home. So that's what the album concept is for that, you know, just songs about home.
So this is your third time performing in Joshua Tree.
Whoa, is it the third time? Crazy. Yeah, wow. Okay, number one, we played over at the Joshua Tree Retreat Center, right? And then we played over here at Copper Mountain College. Yeah, I guess it's third time. Rolling through, playing over at Copper Mountain College again.
They must like you, but you keep coming back. Yeah,
yeah, we're very grateful, yeah. Mr. Steve Brown, yeah, has been a big impetus in that, you know, kind of bringing us into the community, and big thanks.
Yeah, shout out Steve.
What up, Steve?
I'm just hanging back here.
Do you like the desert here?
I'm bored.
I love it. I love it. I mean, I'm a desert boy. I grew up in the desert, you know what I mean? So I love it. I love this type of atmosphere. When I'm in Joshua Tree, I mean, I always hope that I can just stay a few more days after everybody leaves so I can be by myself and I can drive over into the national park area and just kind of veg out. I like just kind of scrambling on the rocks and, you know, just experiencing the landscape in that way.
Is your land in your tribe used to Joshua trees? Like, do they grow out there?
No, we don't have any Joshua trees. We have a lot of junipers out in Hopi. We have a lot of cactus. Hey, we have a lot of coyotes. Hey, out in Santa Clara Pueblo in New Mexico, where my mother's people are, we're much more of kind of mountain country. We live along the Rio Grande, so it's quite different, you know, atmosphere.
More green?
Yeah, but, you know, if people come from the east, you know, and they come and see our land, they definitely don't call it green, you know what I mean? But, you know, it definitely still feels like desert to them, but to me, you know, I mean, it's God's country.
Yeah. So, do you like cactus?
I love cactus unless I'm stepping on it or falling into it.
Yeah, so my culture, we call it Nepalese, and we eat it. Do you like eating the cactus fruit?
I've done that quite a bit over my years. I mean, right now I've noticed, like, I do a lot of running to kind of to stay in shape, and there's certain songs that the Yoties sing that if
Stick in your head?
Well, if I'm not running, then I can't perform them. You know, I need a certain amount of lung capacity. So in my runs recently, yeah, I've noticed that that there's a lot of cactus fruit, you know, out in our direction. So, yeah.
Okay. So when you're running, do you, like, rehearse music? Or do you, like, think of songs like, hey, I should write a song about that?
That's really funny that you asked that. In Puebloan culture, the cultures that I come from, running is considered a prayer, So when people are running, we thank them. If you see somebody running, we say, all right, thank you, be strong, we try to give them that encouragement. And when people run, that's what they're encouraged to do, to think positive thoughts towards the community, healing thoughts towards everyone. So it's considered something, when you see somebody running, they're actually giving strength to the entire community. One time we were in the studio and we were trying to time out how many beats per minute, certain songs had, what the tempos were. I'm not sure why we were doing that, probably so we could perform them and kind of know the right tempos. But as we were analyzing them, we were noticing that like so many of the songs were like in the same tempo. And I told the engineer, I said, well, you know what's happening? I'm writing a lot of these songs when I'm running. And so I've got a certain pace, right? So I'm running in this pace, you know what I mean? And then I'm singing songs to myself and writing lyrics, composing lyrics while I'm doing it. So it makes sense that a lot of the songs were kind of in the same tempo.
Yeah, by tempo, you make the song by every footstep.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are the Yotie songs that people absolutely need to know?
Oh, man.
For your fans out here.
Well, shoot, man, I would say I would probably have a very different playlist than what other people would, I think right now we're working on a song called Coyote Soldier, we've recorded it, and that's an important one. I think the song War is important. As far as what other people like, The River is a very popular song. Funky Yotie Party is a popular song. Mash It Up is a popular song among our fans, yeah. Restless Natives. Let's not forget that one.
That's a good one. Also, too, Brown in This Town.
Yeah.
I love that. Was one of my early favorites.
Yeah. So Brown in This Town is actually very much a description of my arrest in Flagstaff and my experience in Flagstaff. Brown in This Town is just, reflecting on that, that struggle that I had, going through the probation, going through the jail time, and also recognizing the great disparity that our people were living in comparison to people in the city, reservation as opposed to the city.
Around this sacred mountain we left footprints in the sand. The white man seems to think that we should hush our sacred song. Only realize without us all their revenue would be gone. Yeah, in this town sitting with her there, all the world seemed to be right. They shut the place down early, so we cruised on to the store to buy a pack of smoke and head home to chill some more. We left the Star and hit the road thinking we would turn in, but a city cop was in the bushes staring at our skin. He flashed his lights and pulled us over to my great surprise. Sent my lady walking, slapped on cuffs and took the ride. Because you can't be proud in this town. I said you can't be brown in this town. Where you at, folks?
I do want to say this, since I'm on air, because a lot of times people stereotype Native Americans. Like, they seem to think that we all have casinos, that we all participate in powwows, and in where I'm from, neither of those are true, you know. And so I think it's really important to recognize, you know, that Native Americans are very diverse groups of people. You know, when you go to England, you recognize that you're not in Spain. You know what I mean? When people go to Europe, they're very aware of the diversity of culture. You know, Hungary is not Germany, and Germany is not England, and England is not Spain, and Spain is
not France.
Exactly, et cetera, et cetera. But when you talk about Native Americans, we all get clumped into the same thing, you know, but we don't have the same politics. We don't have the same belief systems. We don't speak the same language, you know. We don't have the same religion, you know. Powwow is something that really became a universal thing, I think, more so because of relocation, when kids were taken off the reservation and stuck in cities, and they're from different tribes, but they realized that they did have something in common, you know, and that became a way of universal expression, you know, that they could relate to one another, but it's not necessarily consistent with everybody's practice at home.
You said that your tribe does not have casinos. Does that mean you guys are impoverished? Not to say nothing bad about it, but like, is it like hard to live on the reservation with crime and all that, or is it more mellow?
Well, we have probably about an 80% unemployment rate, you know, where I'm from. Now, understand that if you're evaluating the culture from an American point of view, that's what you come to. However, our people do a lot of farming, and everybody does arts and crafts to supplement their living. So like, even though there's so much unemployment, there's not so much unemployment, you know. Everybody's engaged in the community, and so many of our ceremonies are about caring for one another and redistributing wealth, you know.
Is it like a bartering system?
That's an interesting question. I would say that bartering is a lot more common, you know, on the reservation. We do a lot more trading. But even in ceremonies, you know, there's practices of giving things away. There's also practices of paying back when you participate to those that help you, you know. So there is a lot of distributing of wealth within the community that doesn't involve any type of money transaction, you know.
So is there any food that your culture produces that brings memories or makes people want to come? Like, I know some cultures in the Indian tribes have fried bread.
Yeah, I mean, again, I feel like that's another cliche, right? Because like, fry bread to me is a modern thing. You know, fry bread is the product of government issued surplus food, you know, and so they're distributing flour and oil. And so, you know, I mean, it's a natural or it's a convenient thing to make fry bread that way. And fry bread is one thing that probably has become universal among many tribes, but I wouldn't call it a traditional food where I come from. No. Our traditional foods are more corn-based, you know.
Like tamales?
We have a form of tamale we call sumiviki, you know, and it looks like a tamale on the outside, but when you open it up, it's blue corn. It's blue, and it's sweet, you know, and it's a little bit of a delicacy. Nokwewe is like a hominy stew, and that's, okay, I'm getting hungry here.
Yeah, you and me both.
Biki is another very unique type of food. Some people call it newspaper bread, but yeah, it's very unique. You know, it's very unique to the culture. There's quite a bit of traditional foods that we have that definitely bring back mouth-watering memories. Hey, we love chili as well. Hot stuff. Hot stuff, man. Hot stuff.
So we have that in common.
Discover a hidden local gem in Joshua Tree, Jorge's Cafe, in the 300 quad on the campus of Copper Mountain College. Jorge's is a great place to get breakfast, pancakes, French toast, breakfast burritos, omelets, and more, and lunch, salads, sliders, sandwiches, burgers, and more, along with lemonades, smoothies, Thai tea with boba, and so much more. Hours can vary depending on whether college is in session or not, so check out their website at www.jorgesmenu.com.
In my culture, there's a lot of things that we don't talk about as well, because somehow it seems like when they're spoken to outsiders, sometimes the words are twisted, sometimes they're commercialized, sometimes those type of things happen. So probably we tend to keep a lot of those things to ourselves. As far as like issues that the Yoties, some of the specific issues that we advocate for, a big part of our cultural understanding is the understanding that water is life. Bato akatse, with one drop of rain, the entire universe is renewed. Water is scarce where we come from, like here, we live in a desert. So, every prayer that we say, every ceremony that we have in some way is a call for rains, My father used to say that we come from a rain courting society, that as human beings, we take kind of a male role. We try to dress up for the clouds. We try to sing songs and serenade the clouds. And when people talk badly of the clouds, then we get pretty upset, because, it's a lot of work to woo the clouds, and we don't want them to be offended. We want them to come and give blessing to us. So parallel to that is the water issues that are here, in the Southwest. The Colorado River, it's been chopped up and bought and sold between states and countries, and it doesn't make its way home, out to the Pacific Ocean. And that's a tragedy, to us. Also, the Little Colorado River is a river that runs close to our people and is very important culturally to us. And it's always under a constant threat of development. People always trying to make a dollar off of these things. And to us, it's priceless. It's not a commodity. It's something that is living and has blessing and virtue,
So do you guys have a rain dance, or is there any specific way you guys summon the rain?
Well, yeah, I think that one I won't comment on.
Okay.
Yeah. But I will also say that, like, in Hopi, many of our people don't have running water in their homes. And if you have running water in your home, you still have to haul water because of the arsenic contamination that's in the water. And arsenic contamination in the water is natural. However, it's also
man-made.
It is also man-made because it's the problem is expanded by mining practices that are not disciplined, that are not thoughtful, And so when things are being drilled, one water system can interact with another water system, and now we've got multiple water systems, aquifers, underground aquifers that are now contaminated, At the Grand Canyon today, the Havasupai people were kicked out of the Grand Canyon in 1918 so that we can have a national park in 1919 at the Grand Canyon. So they live today in a side canyon, and now the only operating uranium mine in the state of Arizona today sits directly on top of the Moave Aquifer that provides water for the Havasupai people. And so they're the ones that are directly threatened, but really we're all indirectly threatened by that operation. There's 500 to 1,000 open pit uranium mines on Navajo Nation left over from the Cold War, things that have not been cleaned up. And now they're transporting uranium from the Grand Canyon, a radioactive ore from Grand Canyon where the Supai are, transporting it through the already impacted communities of Navajo and on up to yet another reservation, the Ute Mountain Ute Reservation. The only operating uranium mill in the entire United States of America just sits right outside their lands. There was once a Utah politician that referred to the lands surrounding the Grand Canyon as the national sacrifice area, meaning we can mine the coal, we can extract the water, we can mine the uranium, And, it's a sacrifice for the good of everybody else, but it's the indigenous people that have carried this burden, specifically Hopi, Navajo, Supai, Ute, these are people that have been highly impacted by this. And I know there's other people that have been heavily impacted by industrial mining throughout the country, but where we are, in the Four Corners area, it's out of sight, out of mind situation. Very often, people, again, come to the Grand Canyon by the millions, to visit the seventh wonder of the world. But they come and they go and they leave just as ignorant about the indigenous people and how they've been impacted, by the industrial age. They leave just as ignorant as they were when they came.
What kind of effects does that entail?
Well, for one, uranium poisoning. Navajo people used to have like a practically non-existent cancer rate. There was nothing. And then all of a sudden, during the Cold War, with the introduction of uranium mining, all of a sudden it's expanding over and over and over. It's being multiplied everywhere, That's one situation, The arsenic contamination in Hopi water, there's a lot of potential effects to that, the poisoning of the body. So, I've heard that there's, some types of cancers that are linked to it, diabetes, etc.
So is there anything else you would want us to mention or talk about before we end this session?
I think the one thing that I would like to say is I would like to just kind of echo what I just mentioned, that I think that it's important to me because, again, I feel like our situations tend to be outside the national conscience. And if there's one thing that I could appeal to people, I just want people to understand our situations. Like in Hopi, we were paid $1.67 for every 326,000 gallons of water in the operation of the Kayenta mine. And this was a coal mine. And they were slurring the coal from the mine in northern Arizona out to the Mojave Generating Station in Nevada. We were paid 3.3% for the market value of coal. And in that slurry operation, it depleted an underground aquifer that could have sustained us for the next 300 years, theoretically. It was drained 45 billion gallons of water, and just overnight, within 35-year period, that water's never coming back, And so today, these are the issues that we're faced with, arsenic-riddled water systems, And I just hope that people would learn about us, that we would be on the radar of the hearts of people. And, we come from a spiritual culture where we're constantly at prayer for the good of other people, the good of the universe, the balance of things. And this is what we're praying for. This is the energy that we give out to the world. And I would just hope that people would also recognize our situations and that they would send us back some of that same energy, that they would also pray for us, that they would also recognize some of the things that we're going through, and that they would hold us in their hearts, and recognize that the resources that are so convenient for us, electricity, water, warmth, cooling, all of these things have a price tag. And as we pursue comfort as human beings, very often we become abusive to people that are making those things possible. So I would just say, recognize that, yes, water is sacred. Recognize that electricity is a gift, that the resources that we use are not, they're not immeasurable. They're not going to be there forever, and we need to treat these things with respect.
Okay, so you heard it here first. It's your boy JRod back on the track. This is Area 62. Thank you for listening.
Oh, oh, oh.
I like that.
change the words to give it a cultural flow. I said, don't worry, just be Hopi. At the beginning of time, we came into this land to leave our stripe behind. Follow my son's plan, he said. Don't worry, just be Hopi. Tried to change our ways, but we were doing fine. We said, don't worry, we just be Hopi. 60-80, we kicked the Catholics out. I know what the Pizarro proved, there was no doubt, yeah. Don't worry, just be Hopi. Trouble the United States, they tried to bust our bubble. They say, don't worry, just be Hopi. Peabody coal has been full of lies. They say they don't know why our springs run dry. They say just stay in your corner of northern Arizona and be Hopi. Yeah, there's the snowball, there's the canyon mine, the desecration of our sites and shrines. And still they keep on telling us, don't worry, be Hopi. So many things in this world we see, we cry is Ukio. Itampas naan ka Hopi, don't worry, yeah, just be Hopi. And don't worry about a thing now, because every little thing is gonna be alright. Umakahin wo ang to today, Hopi.
You can catch all the episodes of Area 62, the Desert's cultural podcast, and view all the Tiny Cactus concerts at www.area62podcast.com.
Thank you for joining us in Area 62.